from some location, secretly located somewhere around the world. It's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
God bless you, Pastor Paul. Doing okay.
You know, I always wonder about that when I say you're from somewhere around the world. I know because you are generally somewhere from around the world. Are you in the United States? Can you even say
I
that?
am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. All right. Well, Mike, great to have you tonight.
Good to be here.
There's a lot going on, isn't there? I mean,
Yes, sir.
Can we talk about this Greece thing and the fact that Israel their Security Council just had a emergency meeting to prepare for a tsunami in case something happens. So can you help us understand this?
Well, Pastor Paul, February 3rd, I had a talk about the Aegean Sea and a concern I had out there, which was volcanic, right? And now we're having all those earthquakes. Right before that period, though, I was in the process of studying certain changes that have been taking place right below, right in that area. So we have magmatic shifts happening, magmatic fragmentation happening all under the Aegean Sea. And, of course, in 2020, scientists said that it was unlikely that any major eruption would happen from volcanoes like Colombo, in the near future. But all that changed as some of the new studies came out and some of the undetected bodies of magma that are moving beneath the Aegean Sea were located. So we have in the subsea mount, we have a large amount of magma on the move. I mean on the move. So I'm expecting an eruption.
You are. You just said, I'm expecting. So you're saying not just an earthquake, you're expecting a volcanic eruption. Are you talking about right there on that Santorini island or somewhere close in that region?
Oh, it's right there. It's right below Santorini. It stretches out from Santorini going all the way up into the Aegean Sea. There are a few magma chambers that were previously undiscovered. They're highly active, and so the magma is moving at an unlikely pace. Let's put it that way. And it's been 70,000 years since that system blew in the first place, but it's happening again. And then doing studies on Colombo itself. You're looking at that's northeast of Santorini. You're looking at a crater which shows evidence of an explosion, an undersea explosion that took place back in, that was in the 1600s. But it actually left material all over the northern hemisphere, right? So most people think that an underwater volcano is harmless. That's not the truth. When an underwater volcano blows, one of these, this is a big one, that magma hits the water, superheats it, further causing more explosions. So it can actually eject material all the way up to the stratosphere, right? That's what makes it so dangerous. In this case, if that one blows, that's precisely what will happen.
So we're really dealing with a serious threat. 12,000 people have evacuated from Santorini Island there in Greece.
Yep.
And as I'm showing you here, the Israeli National Security Council just ordered preparation for a tsunami. And what I didn't know, Mike, is that there has been significant tsunamis hit Israel in 1222, in 1308, in 1870, and then 1908. These were big ones, and there was a smaller one in 1953. So it's no joke. And I was thinking, is it possible that an earthquake could happen and a tsunami could hit Gaza, of all places?
Yeah, it could. It could really, cause some issues. Those are low-lying plains too. If that water gets in there, it's going to be trapped. But they expect some sort of undersea activity here shortly. They do. In fact, a lot of their science guild was in the process, I believe it was yesterday, of making some recommendations for both Israel, for Greece, for parts of Italy, because if that, one of the problems is this system in the Aegean Sea can actually begin to disrupt the system surrounding Italy. That could cause some major issues.
Yeah, and you've been very vocal about that fault line that runs underneath Rome, right underneath Italy.
Yeah, they have too much magma, Pastor Paul, right? And you have on the airport, for example, in those airports, you have the runways from time to time melt, right? The roads melt. People are burnt, hospitalized from things happening. So it's very volatile. And I know at some point in that cup where Italy sits and all those surrounding towns, every single last one of them will be affected, all of them, and the Aegean Sea. So it's not a question of, if, it is when. And we're 70,000 years. We're way overdue. Way overdue.
I mean, yeah, way overdue. But
yeah, we are.
But I guess the seismic activity, there's been 7,700 earthquakes the last 7 days in Santorini Island there. That's a very popular tourist area.
Yep.
Nobody's going. People are leaving. Yeah. And their government is saying it's best you get off the island. So they really are thinking this thing's going to blow or a major earthquake, and maybe not a volcanic eruption, but a major earthquake or both, right?
Yeah, because if the initial earthquakes, when they began to happen, they happened about 5 miles northeast of Santorini. Well, that's right there by Colombo, the earthquake Colombo. So they have an issue. I mean, it was happening all around that volcano, right? Right now, this moment, they still have tremors around that volcano. Someone is agitated. It's not stopping. And so, they're very concerned because that volcano, when it begins to blow, it can actually start to split the land in the sea. Now, if part of the sea floor drops, that's going to be a huge tsunami. I mean, a huge tsunami, right? Because you're looking at a sea floor that has gaping holes in it. So that's a lot of material that could collapse. And if it does, it will cause a water displacement event, a tsunami, which will, just overtake anything it touches. So, yeah, they're very.
You're talking about a mega tsunami. You're saying this could actually happen. Something absolutely.
Yeah, it could. It could. Yes, it could. It could. All and right. The magma, because the magma is already doing what it's not supposed to do, what nobody expected, Pastor Paul. That's part of the problem. Israel knows about it. The U.S. knows about it. Nations know about it, and they have a deep caution towards it. So they expect something. I don't blame them.
Wow, we'll keep an eye on that, Mike. Mike, also we're dealing with a couple of things here in America. We have the third Pacific atmospheric river, one right after another, coming into California. A lot of rain. They're concerned of mudslides. Again, this was something you warned us about the last 4 or 5 years, that this was going to happen more often. Can you give us an update on what this could mean?
The weather, Pastor Paul, will be like an enemy of mankind. I'm somewhat intrigued also by the twin weather patterns that we're having on Mars and the Earth, right? You're looking at 2 planets, but the weather's changing on both. And it's not favorable to the USA. It is not causing a lot of damage in the USA. Right? Even Trump is not happy about the weather. Right. Nor is the military, because it's damaging very sensitive infrastructure, by the way, which everything is about to change. But it's just too damaging. Most places were not prepared for this type of extreme weather. The shifts between hot and cold. And, Florida is any example. That's a big example. Then we have the summers, which are going to get progressively hotter, right? Yeah. Now, it's been confirmed that the chemistry on the sun is not the same. It's been changing. It has burnt or exhausted a lot of its certain components that are in it. And the chemistry of the sun is different. Well, that's being affected by something externally, of course. So which one? Everybody, people can take their pick. They're hunting it down. But it's going to continue to affect the sun in very odd ways. We're right now, we're at solar maximum. That was confirmed about, a week and a half ago.
Okay.
And so we can expect a lot of solar activity, possibly on a scale we're not familiar with. Now, many people seem to have the consensus that these conditions almost mirror the conditions near the Carrington event. Right?
Really?
Yeah. And so one of the issues now, the power companies have been working day and night to alter or to, let's just say, retrofit the power grid. Right?
Okay.
They have to have absolute and total control, but that's not all. The gas companies also. If we had an EMP, people may not be aware of this, but if we had an EMP, gas lines would begin to blow.
What?
Because they have these intermediate control relays, you can call them, that regulate the gas flowing through those pipes. Well, if nothing regulates what's going through those pipes, you can have overpressure in part of the pipe system and then blow it. So the gas companies have been quite busy, digging up gas lines, putting in new ones. People should be seeing this all over the USA. And I don't believe, it's a good step towards that, but it likely will not alleviate the issue because we're facing, more extremes. The weather we're having right now is just a testament to the change of the weather format, of the jet stream. It is highly chaotic. And we're truly about to see, because I'm expecting a reversal of the jet stream, which will ultimately be something we're going to have to deal with, which means all that weather on the West Coast, we're going to begin to have on the East Coast. And all the weather we have on the East Coast, we're going to have on the West Coast.
And that's really good. I mean, the reversal of jet streams to me is just outrageous. Is that because of a tilting of the Earth? Or
no, actually, that's essentially pressure differentials, right? Studying fluid dynamics, when the jet stream starts to dip too much, right? When it dips way down below like it's been doing, it can cause somewhat of a loop in its flow. If that loop is big enough, momentum will carry it all the way through and start reversing everything. So it'll be a dominant low pressure system where it shouldn't be, and it'll begin to reverse the jet stream. This happened during the Dust Bowl in the USA. The jet stream was reversed, and so we'll face that again. So it's happened. It's happened dozens of times before. The difference is we did not have civilization built up the way we do.
All right.
So
so now, because at the time it happened, there wasn't near as many people as we have now.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, Mike, back to the sun, because there's been 20 solar flares, M-class solar flares, in the last 7 days. And that's a lot. And of course, but you just answered and said that we are in the solar maximum.
Yeah. Yeah. They confirmed it. Yeah.
Is Planet X or the binary system out there that's affecting our solar system, is that magnifying everything?
I firmly believe we're in a binary system. I firmly believe that.
I agree with you.
And, regardless of what people call it, we're having the symptoms of part of its close approach. And one thing that I guess folks should understand, in any binary system, which they found out most systems that they have ever seen are binary and more, right? Never single. It's very rare to see a single system. But when they start to return, the weather on the little planets start changing. We're having the effects just like a standard binary system. I think that part of the rejection is education itself, right? People were somewhat trained in Darwinism and things like that. They could not change their standard model into anything else because it would start to cause too much conflict with, in the sciences. By the way, we need technology to stay up with the wars and all that stuff. So anyway, they don't want to make waves.
Is
But now
almost every solar system almost has to be binary to stabilize the?
Yeah, a lot of them do. Well, not to stabilize. It's just that it almost seems like a rule that what God created out there, most of them are in binary and more systems. Some have two stars, some have four, some have three.
Okay.
But here's the deal. And biblically, it kind of blows my mind, because in the simulations and in observations of a close approach of a binary star, and by the way, that doesn't mean you see the other star. It means that you feel the effects of it. In some cases, you may see it, but there's a photonic exchange, which means our sun at some point its light will be redirected to the other star.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And when this is observed, and when they have sat and watched this effect, it's amazing, because it plunges whatever the planets were doing, it plunges them in a darkness, right? For it could last a week, it could last a month. And then it goes, back to normal. But the photons are redirected, because this binary twin will come in and start to recharge. It'll pull the material off the sun. So that means anybody on this planet, right, will not see the sun. They just won't see it. It'll still be there, but they won't see it. It'll also put off twice as much heat, right? Because there's no other force to start to dither or dissipate the infrared that will hit the Earth. And so the Earth will be bathed in red light. So everything will look red.
So could the 3 days of darkness that happened in the days of Egypt, could we revisit that again?
It's possible, yeah.
Okay.
It's possible, because they've observed this at least a little over a dozen times, and it's the same effects. The star, the sun that's coming in begins to alter the solar system it approaches. It feeds off the brightest star begins to lose material to the colder star, right? It recharges and then goes back out.
Well, when that happens, Mike, would we be able to, now that we have these new telescopes and infrared capabilities, and
yes, we'll see it. In truth,
Planet X,
they should be able. Pastor, my opinion,
yeah,
they know where it is.
You believe they already see it now, don't you? Already,
they know where it is. There's no way somebody's going to spend $27 trillion on a satellite system at the corner of the Earth, maintain it, add more tech to it, have everybody go down and visit it, get data from it, right? And then have people wonder about it, shaken about it over nothing. So whatever they're seeing, right, they know it's real. Yes, they can't tell the people. The people would, if somebody, a lot of people say, well, why won't they tell us? Because people will dream up theories and scare themselves to pieces. That's why. I see. Right?
Let me ask you, how do you think we're doing? How do you think we're doing? We're going to talk about February, because I know you brought that up and people are pounding my door, and I've had so many emails like, you got to ask Mike about February. Why does he feel that lots of people may start dying in February? And Mike, do you want to address that now? Because I want to go to the southern border. But
let's
go to February.
I know everybody's elated about the election, but let's go ahead and face it. The election is a signal to the world that America's taken her place again, right? And that implementation of a type of rule is taking place because things were out of control. But the problem with that is you have too many groups and too many people who became so comfortable, right, taking advantage of the USA with fentanyl and this, that, and the other.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're kicked out, right?
Right.
There's going to be retaliation. There's no way we're not going to have retaliation.
I see that.
There's no way. Even in a biblical principle is Satan is going to be found where the gospel is. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Satan, in the book of Job, he walked around the world and said, I can't find anybody worth doing anything to. Have you considered my servant Job? So those, the gospel is right here in America.
Yes.
That's where the core of the gospel is. Right here in America is where the believers are.
Well, there's two things.
So you better believe
there's two
Satan
things.
is going to oppose. He's going to challenge that on every side.
He's coming after the gospel, and he's coming after the fact that we stand with Israel.
That's right.
Those two things are huge, which is
That's
all
right.
part of the gospel, by the way.
That's right. That's ordained. He can't do anything about it, but that's not going to. This guy knows. He's on death row, and he's not going to give up.
Amen.
He's insane. He's really insane. But there's going to be retaliation. I'll give you an example. People will start to hear about purple heroin. And it's taking lives. It's taking lives left and people are dying like you wouldn't believe. Instant overdose, of which nothing can bring a person back. So they're going to start finding people in cars. You watch and see. They're going to find them dead in cars all over the place, right in front of convenience stores, right in front of grocery stores. Because as soon as a person takes that stuff, it is synthetic, it's tainted, it's made here in the USA by some chemists who stole the fentanyl formula and distributed that all around the world, all around the USA. So they're making this synthetic heroin that is horrible. It's going to kill a lot of people, and it's not coming from any external source. It's coming internally, and people, once all they have to do is touch it to their mouth, and they're gone. They're gone.
You're calling it purple heroin, but it's really laced in fentanyl or a combination?
Yeah, it's got a synthetic type fentanyl in it, and I believe they're going to coin it purple heroin. I'm just using that name because it's likely the name they're going to start using for it. Okay,
so you're out ahead of this even because this is nowhere on the media right now, purple heroin. So folks, you're hearing some things in advance. So when you start to hear this, they may call it purple haze or purple rain or whatever, purple powder, but purple heroin is what you're saying it is, Mike. And it's a combination. Is it a combination of heroin and fentanyl or maybe some other stuff?
Yeah, it's got the same properties of heroin, but with fentanyl, with some very dangerous things in there, and it's doing real damage. Is that what
you're saying is going to cause a lot of people to die?
Well, that's an example. That's just one of the many things that we're going to face. So it's not going to be from one thing. It'll be from quite a few things, and we will see direct attempts against the president. I would say, I would say there are going to be a dozen attempts on him, but the Lord's hand is on him. Well, now, but there will be a dozen attempts on him.
Okay, Mike. Now he made the comment and he had Benjamin Netanyahu standing right next to him, and Peter Ducey of Fox News in the press conference said, "Hey, you do know that Iran's trying to kill both of you guys," and Trump made the statement. Yeah, that wouldn't be a very good thing for them to do. I've already left orders. If they do, we'll annihilate them. That's a standing. He said actually Biden should have told him because he left the same orders. So this is a very serious time we're in. And so you're saying there's going to be multiple assassination plots. Will America, no matter who kills, if God help us, Lord, forgive me, Lord, but if somebody was to take the president's life, would America just immediately respond toward Iran without any hesitation? Just go ahead and
there would be a blanket response in a few places, not just Iran, but that's why you don't do it to one nation, you do it to a few, so that every nation will start to watch every other nation to make sure no nation does anything. Right? For example, if somebody threatened to kill me, but I had already told 5 countries, hey, if something happens to me, I'm coming for you. There are standing orders to go ahead and take you out. But I told all 5 the same thing. Yeah. Then all those 5 countries are going to be looking at each other, making sure that the other person doesn't do anything to me. I see. Right? So the same thing has been done there. But it's not going to stop because you're looking at countries that want revenge. They're not going to. These are vengeful people, right? That you're dealing with. That's one of the first things I learned about the Middle East.
Can you share?
In the Middle East, they are vengeful people, Pastor Paul.
I know they
vengeful.
Are. Yeah.
And their vengeance never dies. It's kind of like that faith they have, right? It's not going to die that way. But they're here in this country, right? For example, President Trump, there's a law that if people are loyal to Hamas or speak out for Hamas, they're going to be kicked out of the colleges and be shipped out too, right? The That's going to happen. So that puts kids under control. But the problem is people are so twisted these days. And something is so dark within quite a few of these folks. They're going to try what they're going to try. And I believe that groups have already coordinated. Believe me, there's a lot of people working to identify these coordinated groups and to collect as many as they can, because they're like fleas in America. They really are. They're like fleas. They're very difficult to find. We already know they're coordinating because before Trump took office, the chatter was off the chain in the USA, right? So they're going to be planning. They're going to be planning.
Mike. Okay, now, Mike, I'm going to disclose something. I got a phone call this week from people from the White House, IT people, who said, "Who's Mike from around the world?" Okay? Because his conversation with you about the command center in Ukraine is not, he didn't break classification because it's not classified. But who is he? Okay. My answer was, I promised the man 12 years ago I'd never reveal his name or his location or anything about him. And they said, okay, because he's what he brought up. They're saying it's not classified, but it's not common knowledge.
No, it's not.
So, and it's not a threat. It wasn't a threat toward you or me. It was just a question.
Well, it's okay.
Yeah. I know you're not.
So long as it came from our government.
It came from our government, but so you're okay. It's no problem.
We're going to face some challenges, and weather and geology in the heavens is going to be one of the biggest challenges we ever faced, ever.
Okay. So we talked here about systems and planes and all kinds of stuff and earthquakes and solar flares and the sun and all this, but there's still something coming from the heavens that is a greater threat to the planet than anything else. Is that right?
See, because that's right. Because just think about it, without God's grace, we're doomed. We're just absolutely doomed. And it doesn't matter what we do here on the planet. But in this small season, here's what I think. I think that the Lord has given us a small season to get ourselves together and to think correctly, because he always does this right before we go into the heavy stuff, which means we haven't gone into the heavy things yet. But now we have someone who can drive the ship right through the storm, right? And they're not going to quit, which means I believe a storm is coming, a storm that nobody expected, a storm that will in itself change everything, right? Because I say that to say this. The only man who ever changed anything biblically in that whole Bible, totally changed the whole world, was Christ Jesus.
Amen.
And the Antichrist at the end.
Yeah.
Everybody else was disrupted. Solomon was disrupted. King David was disrupted. Moses, everybody was disrupted, except the Antichrist, which means an evil kingdom is rising.
Yes.
And we can see the enemies, right?
Yes.
And this thing will start taking over everything. Everything.
Yes.
So some of the technology, even like AI, most people don't know that began in the 70s.
I know. Stan
and that
Dale
the true
said that.
evil,
yeah.
But here's what I meant to tell you. There is a true evil. Do you know that right now a company has built some robots? Hear me on this. Brain cells. These are biologically computer chip driven robots. Brain cells are on the microchip. They took the experiment from the 1970s, perfected it. And now these robots are learning by way of brain cells, not software, brain cells. Right now, this is happening.
Human brain cells?
Human brain cells. Now, how did they get the human brain cells? Stem cells. Remember, stem cells can become any cell in the body. So they coerced these cells to become brain cells. And they have chips, biological chips right now. And they have robots that are I believe they're in their 10th year of development, of learning, of doing things. And these are different than it's different. It's different than Elon's robots.
Are we talking humanoids? Are we going to move into transhumanism to humanoids?
Did you say move into? It's already taken place.
It's already here.
That company, now, in my opinion, that company is absolute 100% darkened. That's evil. Not because they put brain cells on the microchip, because of the folks that are involved and what they're connected with, right?
Wow.
They're doing things that nobody else can do. And guess where they are?
Where are they?
China.
Oh, I mean, aren't we the ones ahead of this, or is it China ahead?
China.
All
We
right.
started that back in the 1970s, right? China introduces a deep seek, but they have something else they're going to introduce tomorrow, I believe. Something else that's going to make some people nervous. So that's going to rush the whole world into finishing. That's why NVIDIA is stepping up to the table saying, hey, we got to get this done. And we got to get Elon going with Colossus. His facility is called Colossus.
There you go.
By the way,
NVIDIA researchers demonstrate significant progress in robot training.
Yes.
But you're saying the Chinese are getting ready to come in with something even greater than deep seek.
They did. They already have it. They just deep seek. When they introduced deep seek, it's been around for 26 years.
They only introduced it 4 days ago.
China is fooling everybody. And you know what? The scientists over here, some of the folks over here cannot believe what they did. They tried to minimize what DeepSeek was. DeepSeek is not a joke. It's by no means a joke. It's not a joke. So the Chinese are there's a group of Chinese, like a bunch of Elon Musks.
Mike, can we bring this up next week?
If you desire.
I do desire. So we'll do it. We'll do it next week. Okay. And you've already helped me with February because you told me that there's going to be a purple heroin, and now I'm understanding what's going on there. But deep seek,
got to be a variety of things for February.
Deep seek. So I'll be looking for tomorrow or the next 2 or 3 days, some new release from China, something else.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Things are moving at light speed, literally.
They are.
And prophecy is coming to pass. People better get ready. People better get ready. Mike, thank you.
They do.
Thank you so much.
Fastball, God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
It's always an honor.
Thank you. The honor's mine. Trust me. I promise you that. God bless you, brother.
All right. God bless.